All right. Tell us your name, where you're from, and what you do as a job.
All right, I'm good. I'm Rayanne. I am a CPS in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. No,
And where are you from?
I can't. Okay. Can we do that again?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Rayanne. I am from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and I'm a CPS in Cambria County. I became a CPS to help people get the resources that they needed in a way that I never had before in my life. Growing up in Johnstown was difficult for me. I was actually adopted from Oregon when I was 8. So I came to Johnstown, new place, no blood relatives, no family, and it was actually fairly rough for me. I definitely had to adjust to, different euphemisms, different language style, not understanding what water was, not understanding what a clicker was, and just having to adapt to a new family, new friends, new city, and having to learn everything again. My first experience with mental health symptoms had to be when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. I would wake up from nightmares. I was not able to sleep. I wet the bed when I was younger. I started counseling when I was about 6. I stayed in counseling until I was about 14, and then I had the right to choose not to. I had reactive attachment disorder whenever I was adopted, so it was very hard for my family to adjust to having a child, not be able to connect with them, and having depression and anxiety as well.
Take a deep breath.
Okay.
Look at the camera. And
Okay. Reactive attachment disorder is when a child is unable to feel love or love their parental figures. They do not feel attachment to anyone who is loving them. In counseling as a young kid, I felt very alone. The counselor that I had was unable to really connect with me. It was a lot of just drawing pictures, doing little things, but never asking me how I felt and getting to the root of what I knew was going on with me and the things that I remembered. We never talked about the bad dreams or any of the experiences that I was able to remember. At 14, I opted out of counseling because my therapist actually was telling my mom everything that was going on, even though I had signed a contract with her at 12 and 13 that she was not allowed to. I really had no trust for any adults or anyone in the mental health field. I, at that point, had severe depression. I was hiding it from everybody. I was self-harming. I had actually been raped twice at 15 and 16 and just felt that I had no one to talk to. My recovery journey actually began at 26. So from 16 to 26, I had several encounters with sexual assault, had several encounters with people exploiting me for sexual acts, dealing with people around me who really did not have my best interest at heart. I was in a long-term relationship with my son's father, and when I found out I was pregnant, it became violent. He was drinking, he had mental health issues himself, and was unable to cope, and so he took it out on me physically, verbally, mentally, and sexually. I left him in 2020, right around when COVID started, and that is when I understood and realized the trauma that I had, and that's when my recovery journey began. I was in a very violent relationship where I was being sexually and physically assaulted as well as mentally abused. The night that it all began, my ex decided he was going to drink all day, and then I went to talk to him and I was abused. I was thrown to the ground and beaten severely. And at one point, he decided he was going to pull a gun on me and fired at me, and my son was almost hit. In that very moment, I knew I had to get away. I had to seek help, and I had to change my life for my son and for myself. When I decided to go into recovery, I didn't know what recovery looked like. I thought recovery was getting back on my feet, buying a new car, getting a house, going to school, throwing myself into life. So instead of focusing on mental health, I focused on all of the physical stuff. It took me about 6 months to realize that you can't do that. I was completely burned out. I was in nursing school. I have a 5-year-old at home who I couldn't take care of because of nursing school. And I decided it was time that I needed to contact a therapist. When I started therapy with my current therapist, she really thought that I needed more help within my mental health team. She recommended me to a psychiatrist at Knowlton Diagnostics who saw what I was going through and decided that medication would be the current route we needed to take. Being put on medication was a very scary thing for me. In the past, I had been put on medication that didn't work. I was very nervous and really did not want to deal with the side effects that came with medication. But with the help of my psychiatrist and education and starting in very low doses, we were able to find the regimen that worked for me as a person and not just the stereotype. I was on medication for about a year, and it was honestly a very enlightening experience. I learned a lot about how medication can help just kind of take the ease off and allow you to heal in a way that is good for you. Since I've been off of medication, my recovery has been beautiful. I am not living in the clouds. I have clear thinking and I have hope and I have life, and I've been able to see the beauty around me and not want to have it all end. I decided to become a CPS in October of 2021. At my previous job, I was helping adults with intellectual disabilities and just did not feel like I was doing enough to help them. So I chose to go into mental health to help people in a way that I had never had before. I never had the love and support and kindness that can be had through a mental health team. I never had the hope and the want to live until I decided to help other people. I worked with my psychiatrist for about 1.5 years on medications, as well as my therapist doing CBT and EMDR. Up until September of 2022, I was still taking medications, but with the guidance of my psychiatrist, we successfully discharged me from my psychiatry firm, and I am now medication free. One of my biggest struggles that I dealt with was suicidal ideations. I used to think that I was worthless and wasn't worth living in this world. I used to want to not exist or just disappear. One of the biggest coping skills that my therapist gave me was learning how to ground myself and also how to take the negative thought and turn it into a positive. You know, if I had to say one thing to somebody, it's look to the future, find your brightness, and follow the light.